Hey, happy homesteaders. I'm Jessie Dean. I am the Wild Homesteader, and today I'm going to continue on with our super simple fermentation series. We're going to create a ginger bug. So what is a ginger bug? A ginger bug is the base for all of your fun natural sodas. So it's going to provide a super nutritious, probiotic, effervescent starter for you to be able to make your own healthy soda at home. So what I love about this is not only is it super nutritional, but it's also really fun. Come here, Petunia. Look what we've got. Oh, a little lamb. So today we're going to do the ginger bug, and not only is it super nutritious and very good for you and your kiddos to get all those micronutrients, all those awesome enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics, all that good stuff into your body, but it's also super fun to drink. So you've got your enzymes, your probiotics, your nutrients, everything in one little starter. It takes about a week of nurturing this little starter that we're going to make today, and then you're going to be in good shape to be able to start all sorts of sodas from this one little itty bitty glass of product that you have right here when it finishes. So I like to equate it to a sourdough starter. You can start one little ginger bug here, and it's very simplistic. You just need your basic ingredients. It's kind of similar to sourdough, or to sauerkraut, where you have your ingredient here, you've got your ginger, then you've got your sugar that feeds the ginger, and if you do it right, it'll be super low glycemic index because all of that sugar is actually going to get eaten and digested by the starter itself. So let me go wash my hands from this lamb, and I will be back with you to start the starter. All right, happy homesteaders, let's get started on this ginger bug. So what I like to do is I use a really clean sugar. You don't want to use honey necessarily. Excuse me. Okay, let's get started on the ginger bug. So you can use any of your glass vessel, stainless steel, make sure they're food grade, but as we've discussed in previous videos, you definitely don't want to have any plastic or glass that's not food grade glass or anything other than stainless steel if you're going to use a metal, because it will interfere with the process of the fermentation. So for your ginger bug, I like to start with a nice clean sugar. In this case, I've got a brown coconut sugar. You can use molasses if you don't mind the taste of molasses. It's got a lot of added nutrients in it. You can use pretty much any sweetener that you want. I like the cleaner the better. So that's why I use things like a raw cane sugar or a raw coconut sugar, because even though most of it does get digested, you just don't have any of those additives or any of that toxicity that you can get when you use a lesser product. But you can use whatever you want for fermenting, whatever works well for you and fits within your budget. The only thing I like to do is to use a sugar and not a honey, because the honey has antimicrobial properties that can also interfere with the process of the fermentation. So let's get started. I've got a little bit of sugar here. I'm not one for measuring out stuff like this. I always like to say less is better, but I've got about maybe 2 tablespoons of sugar in this glass jar here. And I'm gonna add some hot water to it. And I'm just gonna let this sit for a minute and dissolve while we grate and muddle our ginger that we have here. So I'll just kind of swish it around with the hot water. The simplicity of this really I cannot stress enough. We are living in our camper trailer right now. I'm doing this outside with just the bare minimum tools. You can chop up your ginger any way you see fit. I use an organic ginger. I actually grow my own, but you can start ginger inside your house or in the ground from just organic starts that you get at the store, just pieces of organic ginger, which is really cool. We'll show you that in another video, but for now, all I'm gonna do is I'm going to grate some of this ginger that I've washed, and you can use the peel and all. It's kind of up to you on your preference, but I don't notice any difference in taste. If you want to take that peel off there, you're more than welcome to. I love the way it smells. Such a neat plant root to be able to do all sorts of fun and very nutritional projects with. So you want about the same amount of raw material, so your ginger, your grated ginger, as you would have in your container for your sugar as well. Careful with your fingers on this. So because I had about 2 tablespoons, I'll do about 2 tablespoons of this to match the 2 tablespoons of sugar, maybe a little more. And the process here is so simple. You grate it up, and once you have enough grated, the grating process is usually enough, but if you want to muddle it a little, you can. It just kind of enhances it and helps it to process a little bit quicker. It's important to have all of your sugar completely dissolved because it'll be more readily available for the ginger to consume and to create that effervescent product in the end after it's all completely dissolved in here. So you probably can't see, but it's all dissolved in the bottom of there, and it's ready for my ginger bug. And I'm actually going to do a little bit more here because after I've mushed it down, there's not quite as much as I would like to see. And once you get the hang of this and your ginger bug's really happy and healthy, I like to put mine on top of the refrigerator because it keeps it a little warmer in our cold camper that we're currently living in, and in our tiny house when we get there we'll probably do the same thing. You just want it to be out of direct sunlight like any other fermentation that you use. So once you get your product, okay, so I've got a good amount here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that in there loosely. And I'm going to stir it up. And again, I'm not big on measuring. I don't have any idea the exact amounts of liquid, the exact amounts of ginger, the exact amount of your sugar. But you just kind of have a sludge here in your warm water, and never hot because that'll kill all the good probiotic action that you want to happen in there. I'm just going to add a little bit more in there because I did add more ginger than I had expected. And now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cover it. A mason jar with a loose lid on it is awesome. It's easy. Pretty much everybody's got one of those. You can do whatever you want. Just this is a normal little wine glass that I picked up at a thrift store. And then I'm going to lightly cover it, and I'm going to set this in the windowsill. Now, in a couple of days, 2 to 3, depending on how warm it is in the house, I'm going to need to feed this starter, the same as sourdough. So what you'll want to do when you feed the starter is you'll want to take just a teeny bit of your sweetener, whatever it is, and a teeny bit of your ginger, and you're going to want to mix them together, and you're going to want to muddle them up just the same as you were making a mojito. Just kind of mix them together with a process of either a wooden spoon. Wooden's awesome, stainless steel, so you don't interfere with any of that microbiome. And then you're just going to sprinkle it in there the same as you would with a sourdough starter. And you want to do much less this time. I would probably say like 2 teaspoons as opposed to tablespoons of each. So 2 teaspoons of your sugar, your sweetener, whatever you choose, and 2 teaspoons of your ground ginger root. And do that every day. If it's bubbling and consistently looking active, you'll start to see bubbles form on the surface of your little starter bug here, and it'll get effervescent in the inside. So when it starts to get effervescent and you've fed it for a few days, every day if it's warmer inside your house and it's looking like it's really wanting that in order to keep that bubbling happening, or every other day if you're a little bit cooler, but whatever the process is, you'll just be able to see it when those bubbles start to when the bubbles start to go away a little bit. You're going to want to feed it, and then when the bubbles start to consistently say the same after about feeding it, maybe say a week, 5 to 10 days, depending on the warmth of your house and where you have it and how much food there is in there for them and everything else, then you're going to want to go ahead and use this to bottle. So this is how you start a ginger bug, feed a ginger bug, and care for your ginger bug. And in the next video, we'll go over what happens so you can use the ginger bug that you just created for your healthy probiotic sodas. Thanks, guys. Okay, so check this out. See those little bubbles all over in there? That means ginger bug doing what ginger bug's supposed to be doing. When you start to see those bubbles, you'll know your fermenting is taking place, and it's time to feed the starter a little bit more. She should be ready in a day or 2. Yahoo! Hey everyone, today we're going to finish the ginger bug that we started last week. So again, what is a ginger bug? A ginger bug is simply a starter similar to a sourdough starter that you would use for a sourdough bread or biscuits or pancakes or whatever you want to use your sourdough for. And so it is just a very highly probiotic, nutrient and enzyme rich starter to make your own fermented wild sodas, beers, whatever you want to put in here. Once you start with this ginger bug is going to be an awesome thing for your belly. So the ginger bug, as you might remember from the earlier video, is a combination of grated or cubed ginger. You can cube it, which is not going to make any difference really. It's just going to be a little easier to strain in the final step when we actually do our second ferment, which is the bottled ferment. And so you take your grated or your cubed ginger. You can also use turmeric or galang-galang. Whatever the root you use, that base product of the root will ferment with the sugar and the wild bacteria and yeasts in the air and on the actual root to create a bubbly fermented drink that is super awesome for you, way better than any soda that you're going to buy in the store, and tastes great. So if you've got kiddos or you have a sweet tooth yourself, this is a really amazing way to get your probiotics and get your bubbly fix too. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this ginger starter and we're going to strain it into this right here. And we took that grated or cubed root and added a little bit of a natural sugar. So you want to use like a coconut sugar or a raw cane sugar added that to it along with the air is all the other ingredient that we need. And we covered it. You can tightly cap it if you can remember to check it every day. Make sure it doesn't explode on you because it will get super bubbly and a lot of pressure will build up. And so when you have that base, you wait for a couple days until you start to see the picture that we had of the bubbles forming, and you can feed that ginger bug with more grated or cubed ginger or whatever your base plant is, and a little bit more sugar until you're about day 6 to 8, depending on where the heat is in your house. And when you swish it, you're going to see a ton of bubbly action that shows that that starter is alive and well and cooking. So you take your bubbly ferment here in the bottom and you add that to either a fresh squeezed juice. You can use pasteurized store-bought juice, whatever you want. And you can also use tea or whatever other liquid that you prefer. I, a lot of times, will like to use a sun tea that I've soaked a bunch of different herbs in. It gives it a really flavorful depth of flavor profile, and also is super nutrient packed and really good for you. But that might be more of a grown-up drink, and so you can use juice. You can use any sort of herbal teas. You can use black teas. And so what I'll do is I'll just fill this so that there is a little bit of room at the top for the bubbles to expand in this. And you can use any sort of food grade swing top container. You can even use a mason jar if you prefer. But the swing top containers are super easy, and I have gotten these everywhere. I've gotten them for free on Craigslist. This is actually a gin that we really like that comes out of Oregon, and we buy it. It's an awesome product, but we also buy it because it comes in these swing tops and we know we can reuse them. And so they're going to be able to withstand a lot of pressure as that fermentation builds up and the bubbles build up in there. You can already see the bubbles that are produced at the top just from adding it to the ginger bug. But as this ferments in this container that you can get at thrift stores, you can get online, you can get them very inexpensively brand new. You can put the word out in your community to see if there is anybody that has a collection of these. But you can do all different flavor profiles in here. I have done orange juice with a little splash of homemade vanilla for like a vanilla cream, any flavor of juice. Really, the sky is the limit to the liquid that you can put in here. The more high quality, the better the product's going to be at the end. So this is some fresh squeezed cherry juice. And I did just put the ginger bug in there, so it'll be a ginger cherry bug at the end, or ferment at the end, soda at the end. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this out of direct sunlight, and I am going to let it sit, only taking it one time a day and being careful if it's in the later stages, like day 2 to 5 of the process of fermentation. I will sometimes put just a rag or a paper towel over the top, because every time I pop that, there's the potential that it's going to be really happy and really emitting a lot of that carbon dioxide gas in there, which is what create the bubbles in any soda. So I'll put a towel over the top if it's in one of the later days of the ferment, and then just taste test. And as with any ferment, we keep it simple. We don't worry about measurements necessarily, and we just use our senses, our eyes, make sure there's no mold or anything in there, any contaminants, flies I've had get in here before when I'm not paying attention to it, and sometimes they'll get in the ginger bug without me knowing. But the more responsible you are throughout the process of that, the less contaminants you'll get in the end, and the higher quality ingredients obviously will give you a higher quality result. So you use your eyes, make sure there's no contaminants, no mold that has acquired in here. Use your taste and decide when it's done. And when you're happy with the taste and the flavor profile, you just pop it in the fridge. If the bubbles aren't getting very active, it probably means that you have either let your ginger bug sit too long or you haven't fed it enough. So next time you do it, just kind of alter that to either give it a little more sugar, a little more of the raw material, whatever you choose to use. If you really like the flavor of like a turmeric and you want to get that into your nutrient profile as well, you can use a turmeric. Whatever the root or the main base you use of this is. One thing that I really like to do in addition to the ginger bug is I use wild soda with wild yeast that I know has come from plants that have a flavor profile that I enjoy and also are very high in the wild yeast. An example of this would be a pine cone, or juniper berries are really high in the wild yeast as well. So you let this sit, pop this open once a day, twice a day if you think of it, and you're in a warmer atmosphere, so your house is kept pretty warm or you live in a warm climate. And then when it looks good and it tastes good to you and it smells good to you, you are ready to consume it. So drink it, enjoy it over ice or just like you would a soda, or you can pop it in the fridge, and that will put the fermentation process into hibernation. So it's extremely simple to make your own healthy wild fermented sodas at home that are going to be far more beneficial for you for the nutrient profile, as well as having all the sugar digested by those yeast and bacteria that are located in the product. So it's going to be low sugar and great for you with the nutrients and the low sugar, and none of those awful additives. So there you have it. That's how you make a wild soda with your ginger bug.